All right, so latkes. I mean, how delicious is a latke? Now, a latke and a potato pancake, although the same, I think, are slightly different. People get like latkes, potato pancakes, hash browns, all these different potato situations. When I think of a latke, it has the crispy edges. It's not quite as creamy in the inside as like a traditional potato pancake would be. It has more of those kind of lacy, really crunchy edges. And I put a little bit of matzah in mine too to give them a little bit more texture. So it's not quite as a creamy center as maybe what a traditional potato pancake may be in some people's eyes. This is my variety of them. Again, a lot of things I learned about Jewish cuisine. I learned from my sister-in-law, Marilyn Hirschman, and her husband, Michael, and her mother-in-law, Shiva Hirschman. So, first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grate the potatoes. So I just have a basic russet potato, Idaho potato, chef potato, whatever you call it. I do not peel mine. Make sure that you clean them very well. So potatoes and onion, and I'm going to grate them into a towel or cheesecloth, and then wring out as much liquid as I can. I'm not going to reserve that liquid and pour off the majority of it, but we're going to save the potato starch that settles at the bottom, which is going to be one of our binders. So our binders are going to be some potato starch, eggs, and a little bit of matzo meat. So 2 potatoes, grated. Careful, I was told by Katie, my delightful culinary director of 15 years, that this is the sharpest box grater ever known to man, so you gotta be careful. I just grate everything together. Some people do the potato thing and onion separate. I do it all together because if I could get the more moisture I get out of everything, the crispier of a latke that I end up with. Right, so there's 1 potato, 2 potato. This is gonna make like 6 to 8 latkes, depending on the size, obviously. The other thing is I cook them in a cast iron pan. A nonstick pan would work. Different oils that you could use. You could use peanut oil if there's no allergies in your family. You could use canola oil. You could use olive oil. Olive oil has a slightly lower smoking point, but it brings a little bit more flavor to the game. So all those work just fine.
Would it taste any different if you peeled the potato first, or?
I think there's a lot of nutrients in the potato skin. There's also some flavor in the potato skin. It gives it a little bit more potato-y-ness to me. So I typically, other than mashed potatoes, I leave the skin on pretty much every other potato preparation. 1 small to medium onion. I peeled it, I left the root on so it could hold it together as I'm grating. Okay. Now we are going to wring out as much liquid as we can. So take this and fold it.
And you can just use a regular towel?
Kitchen towel. Don't use the fancy ones, you get in trouble from Liz.
Okay.
It might just be me, but look at it. So you can see all the liquid coming out. Just twist as hard as you can and get as much of that liquid out of there as you can. Obviously, you can't do this on a paper towel because it would rip, but a double cheesecloth would work, or just a good, clean kitchen towel. All right, so liquid is out. Now I'm going to set this aside. If you look at this, Alexa, there's that foam on the top, and that kind of rises up. I'm going to let it settle a little bit because the potato starch will settle to the bottom. We'll get rid of the liquid and we'll reserve the potato starch is another one of our binders. So I'm going to set that over there. Here I'm going to put in 2 whole eggs.
Do you have any tips if you get a shell in when you're...
Should we do it? Should we get a shell in and let's do it. So you crack, oh no. Shell goes in. What did I do? Oh no! The easiest way to get the shell out, instead of digging with your finger, if you go in with the other half shell, it will adhere to the shell typically.
Oh.
And you could just scoop it right out.
Okay. I just got an eggshell in my eggs yesterday, and I was
Panic?
Well, I was trying to get it with my finger and it kept on running away from me.
It does. It will adhere to the shell.
Now I know.
What's up, buddy? Hi, Em. Wow, everyone's here. Norman's here with this bully stick. Emmy's in from outside with Izzy. What are you doing? All right, so I have my 2 eggs. I put some chives in mine. Obviously there's onions in there already. Chive just gives it another kind of onion flavor, a little bit more. So some chopped chives, about, 2 tablespoons, roughly. Mix that together, add our potato onion mixture, and then we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of matzah meal to this for our other binder. Some recipes you'll see will have flour. I'm not a fan of the flour as much. It makes it a little bit more pasty as opposed to crunchy. So matzah meal kind of brings that texture and the crunch, where flour is a binder. It will help it stick together, but it also makes your latkes a little bit more on the pasty side. So we want these on the crunchy side. So the egg gets mixed in evenly, about 1/4 cup or so of matzah. Go about 1/8 of a cup to start and see how you're looking with it sticking together. If it's not coming together, you could add in that other 1/8 of a cup.
How will you know when it's ready? Or like
Well,
when
you'll just if you grab it, it should
okay.
bind a little bit. This needs a little bit more, so I'm going to come with that additional 1/8 of a cup in there, and then we're going to also get some of our potato starch. So if I take this foamy liquid,
so that white stuff is
see the
starch?
white at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's the potato starch.
Okay.
So that is one last binder. So we have the eggs, the matzah, and the potato starch. Now I'm going to go back in this bowl and mix this in with the potato starch, with a little bit of salt, and a little bit of cracked red pepper. Remember, potatoes take a decent amount of salt. You can also salt them when they come out, but you want to salt them twice. I salt them when I'm mixing them, and then when they come out of the oil, I hit them with some additional kosher salt. So we just mix this up thoroughly. You can get in there with your hands, obviously, too. Not working. So you go in with your hands, and the reason I do like cooking with my hands is because you could feel now these are binding, they're coming together nice, they're holding together, but they're not, it's not tight. You don't want it to be tight.
Okay.
All right, so there is our latke mix. Now we're going to put some oil in our pan, and I basically shallow fry. Some people, I feel, when they're frying latkes or potato pancakes, they put in like a teaspoon of oil, and you really want to get that nice frying sensation. So we're going to go medium-high heat, and then we're going to put oil, we're going to get it pooled on the bottom of the pan, so the oil comes up the sides a little bit of the latkes, and we're getting all crunchy all the way around. We're still going to flip them, but we really want them to kind of fry in that oil.
Okay.
Fat goes in, and we're going to want to get the fat to about 350, 360 degrees. If you had a thermometer and you were going that way, I'll also show you how to check it, because if you don't get the oil hot enough, then what happens is the potato, the latke, absorbs the oil. We want to get this hot so it's frying it, so it's just searing the outside and it's not turning our latke into this oily mess.
I didn't know that if it's too low of a temperature, it'll just absorb the.
It turns into like a potato, a latke, an oil sponge,
Okay.
which we don't want that. We want it crunchy. It's like, have you ever had, I'm sure, Alexa, you've had the, like a French fry that is like just, it's like biting into grease.
Right.
But then you get the ones that are super crunchy. It's all about
Is
frying.
that the difference? The heat of the oil?
The heat of the oil.
Now we know.
So the way to test this, if you don't have a thermometer, is you would just take a little bit of your potato mixture and you would drop it in. And like, see how there's nothing happening right now? Zero movement. That oil is not ready, not even close. So it wasn't moving before. See how it's starting to get active now?
Yeah.
It's the oil's telling us like it's just about ready. So when you see those little potato drops, I have some matzah on my fingers that you drop in, they're bubbling, we're at a temp that we want. And we don't want to crowd this pan, because if we crowd the pan, it's going to drop the temp too quick. So we're going to start taking our potato cakes. Just get a couple kind of latkes, so potato cakes will form here. Like 3 form. And they're, like I said, they're bound, but they're not tight. And that's where you're going to get those great little wisps. And you hear, cooking with our senses, you could hear what's happening.
That looks good.
That looks good. We got movement. So I'm just going to go about 3 to start. Because if I crowd the pan, the temperature goes down, then again, we're absorbing oil, we're not frying. And in about 1.5 to 2 minutes, we'll see the golden laces forming around the outside here. They're still very light, but as this starts to get golden, it's going to let us know it's ready to flip. We'll flip it, we'll crisp the other side, and then they're done. So we're still getting good bubble here. Things are starting to get golden around the exterior. See that matzo meal is kind of crisping up. It's got those nice wispies.
I love those.
Oh, look at it. Look at it. Come on.
Now that's a latke.
And again, I feel the key is, and you know, this is things that I learned from Sheila and Marilyn, and like, you don't want to overwork it too much. You don't want it to be tough. You want it to have that nice tenderness. And it's about really the crunch. Like I feel a potato pancake is a creamy center situation, where a latke is more about like getting that really great crunch. And the matzo meal brings that. The wringing out of the potato and onion brings that. Making sure your oil's at the right temp. Then you could just drain these either on a rack or on paper towels, and when they come out, I like to sprinkle them with just a little bit more kosher salt at the end, serve them with applesauce, and then you're good. It should be pretty, yep, look, both sides, super crispy.
Nice.
Another second to go. I'm just going to start adding these other ones so they can fry while we're eating. And I got 6 out of that. So the potatoes that I use, the onion size I use, I got 6 latkes. Good. Again, they come out. Just give me a little bit more kosher. Over here. Latkes, a little bit of applesauce. I'm in my happy place. I know it's probably not proper, but I go with my hands. Dip. For the crunch. Oh, perfect. Super crunchy, great texture. I love it because they're hot and you dip them in the cool applesauce, and it's kind of just a hot, cold, crunchy, happy situation. All right, there you guys go. Latkes. Happy Hanukkah.